Welcome back, stretchers. I hope you're well. We're going to use a chair towards the end of the session. I haven't pulled it over yet. You don't actually need the chair. It's just in case you want to put your hands onto it. I'm going to use it because sometimes I like to. So we're just going to do a little bit of mobility to warm up, and then we're going to have a little stretch, and then we're going to do a wee bit of conditioning based around that. So we shall do our joint rotation stuff first. Here we go. Crack on with some hip circles. You know the drill. Start small, make them bigger. Listen to your body. If there's some tight bits, work up to it. Don't irritate it by feeling like you have to kind of bang into it and move forward a wee bit. There we go. This is signaling to the brain that we're going to be doing some activity. It's releasing synovial fluid into the joint. Synovial fluid is the lubricant of the joint, and it works its way into all the corners of the joint and lubricates it, makes it feel nice and smooth. And change if you're ready. That's why often people say to me, like, yeah, when I go for a run, I just start walking, jogging, running. I'm like, yeah, but what did you do to prepare for that? So just really simple stuff like this before you get going, mobilizing the tissue, mobilizing the joint itself. Your brain releases some chemicals and some fluid and different bits and pieces, and it's just really, really beneficial. You don't even really notice it's happening, but if you don't do it, that's how kind of these wee niggly, achy hips and knees and things like that creep into our lives. It's not necessarily because we're getting old, it's because we're not giving it a chance to be prepared for the activity it's about to do. So as much as these hip circles can get a bit repetitive, a bit boring, it's worth sticking with them. And just change again if you're ready. Cool, and we're just going to go for some knee raises. Ideally getting that knee above your hip crease, if you can manage that. Remember that the standing leg stays straight while you lift the other one. Don't do that thing. Nice and tall. Get those hip flexors working. And then we're going to rotate that hip out. So we're starting to extend that range of movement. We're adding a balance component and a bit of coordination actually. It generally just feels good. Right, quick hip hinge. I'll do face forward with A. So up to the point where you feel a little stretch, back off. I don't know if you guys heard that. It was just a loud pop. That was my sacroiliac joint. Sometimes that happens for me. Don't worry about these clicks and pops and snaps and all the rest of it, unless it's associated with a lot of pain. Cool, open that up. Let's just do a few. We'll do 10 with our feet a wee bit wider. So we'll go 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, we're going to go for a one and hold. One and hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and come on up. We're going to go down to one side. Kind of more that we're reaching to that outside. If you need to hang on your foot or your ankle, that's great. You can help pull yourself down. Great, come on up, down to the other side. Don't worry about what position your feet are in. They might be pointing forward, they might be pointing out. Doesn't really matter, just wherever you're sort of comfortable at the minute. And then come on up, we're going to turn, and we're going to go up onto our toes, And we're just going to be working to get that back leg straight. As we get the leg straight, then we're going to sink into it until you get a really nice stretch up through the hip flexor. And then the whole time, be really extending this. Doesn't matter about the heel touching the floor, it's just get that leg locked out. Feel that great stretch up here. Have your hands on your knee if you like, or hands off if you want the balance and the strength. Or what I'm doing is like a wee 50-50. It just helps me get a stretch by having a wee bit of balance. Good job, come out of that turn. Straighten that back leg and then use this dropping into it to stretch it. Keep checking yourself, keep straightening that out. Keep straightening that back leg. Great. We're going to put that foot down. We're going to come up onto the toes on this side and I jump onto my mat because I hate my heel down on the floor. It's sore. And we're going to drop down into a little Cossack type position. I'm not overly concerned about my heel today. I'm more focused on some stuff around about the hip. You should feel this hamstrings, adductors, a wee bit of this groin as well, especially if you're starting to push that out there. Cool, come on over, other side. You can come up, over and down, or just shift across, whichever one suits you best. Sometimes you feel like you've got to come up and over, other days you'll feel like you can just pass right through. So I'm not going crazy with the Cossack today, I'm just using it just to open those hips up. Brilliant, come on, back across. Try and set up a little bit deeper the second time. Another wee tip is you sort of get your foot out and you get a great stretch, and then you do anchor this across here. If you then point your toes, it will actually pull you into a wee bit of deeper position. You're not getting stretched through the calf, but you might notice that because you've anchored this side here, and you're pushing that way, and then the toes go that way, it's pulling either end of it, and I just get a tiny little increase in my stretch. And you can modulate that, vary it just with your foot position there. Over to the other side. So just a wee bit of discomfort on my knees, so I just came out, it clicked, went back in, it's all good. So I'm going to get that stretch on, and then I'm going to use my foot to pull me a wee bit deeper into it. Great stuff. Let's just come up into our sort of sumo squat. We've done this the other day, and just using the hands to gently push us across. So as the butt sinks down into it, you're using your upper body to help push it out. Foot position entirely up to you. You probably see actually that my right foot, this one here, sticks out further than my left one. I don't try and keep that the same. That's my anatomy. It comes from my hip joint, which puts my knee in a different position, puts my foot in a different position. When I do that, that is really painful. So I avoid that pain. That's me getting a bit of bone on bone. It creates a lot of irritation into the hip socket. It's not worth it. And we should just be feeling a great stretch, adductors, these groin muscles, adductors, hamstrings. It's just a nice way to sink into a nice deep squat position. Because we've got our hands on our knees, we can kind of relax into it a wee bit. I'm leaning forwards, not massively, but obviously if I've got my hands on my knees, I've got to lean forward a wee bit. Sometimes what I do is I pair this up with then taking my hands off, and I hold it for like 10 seconds and then relax into it for 10 seconds. It's a great little kind of conditioning workout. You might find now that if you actually just not necessarily push harder, but again, just become aware of that and push it, a wee bit more, you can actually open it a wee bit wider. Good. Fantastic. So we're going to go for a little crosshatch switch. So we're going to go down to one side. We're going to do 10. So it's only 5 either side. I'll let you do it in your own time. I'm going to count. You don't have to keep in time though. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Awesome. So that's our kind of little warm up. We're going to do a little bit of conditioning. So I'm going to grab a chair. You don't need it. You can do it all without the chair. It's just harder. So it's up to you what you want to do. Pop my mat out of the way. Grab my chair, which I should have had more ready. I put my bag in it with them. So we're just going to do some leg raises and some hip conditioning. Okay. So we're going to raise our leg to the front first of all. So we're literally lifting it up to the front, not a swing. Okay, we've talked about this before. You're off, Wilson. Leg raise. Raise means you should be able to pause it. So think fast to begin with and then slow it down, rather than the other way around where you go fast and then it slows. So slow then fast, sorry. That tends to allow you to use a wee bit of momentum. So we're going to do 10 either side. Here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, feel that quad, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Other side, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So you won't get much higher than 90 degrees. If you get it higher than that, you're using probably a bit of momentum. Next up, we're going to do a hip aeroplane. Some of you guys have done this before. If you've not, it's basically this. Again, you can do it with an object to balance on it or not. Feet, toes facing the wall or worktop, whatever you got your hands on. You're going to bring your leg back, but toes are still facing down. We're then going to open our hip so that we go square on like this, and then we're going to close the hip so our hips are flat. So we want to go from hips flat to hips stacked. The more you go to 90 degrees, like this T shape, the harder it gets. So I actually want to today do mine as close to 90 degrees as I can. So I've got this T shape, hence I'm going to use the chair just for a bit of balance. If I do it without it, I'm kind of usually at about 45 degrees and I'll fall over, which is all right. So here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Brilliant. Other side. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right. Next, we're going to do a leg raise to the side. So for this one, we've got to have toes facing our object. Again, if we don't have this, we're just going to go this way. But if you do, we're going to raise up the other leg. And this time, standing foot, toes this way, swinging leg, raising leg. toes out that way. And as it goes up, then I open it up around like that. Just keep it totally side on. So here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Other side. I'm just going to flip it. I don't like not facing the camera. So here we go. 10, 9, lift up from here. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Whoo, a little rest. Let's use this to recover. We've got one more little exercise. So I hope you felt that lift towards the end. So obviously as your leg gets higher, it gets more challenging. And that's where I want you to kind of actively pick the leg up. You might need to counterbalance and lean a little bit if you want to get max out of it. That's all right. So just catch your breath a wee bit. I don't know about you guys, but it's a little bit of effort. Not much, but probably get you ever so slightly out of breath. Great. So this time, we're going to extend the leg out. Okay. So it's the same thing. We're going to be in this position. And as we push the leg out, it will get heavier. Okay, so we need a lot of muscles that control the hip on the standing side, hence why we just done this hip opener. So ideally your hips are open when you do this. If they're a bit closed still, that's all right. It just means we need more flexibility in our adductors to open that hip up. But ideally, my hips are stacked and my knee and foot are underneath it. And as I put the foot out, it essentially gets heavier because there's a longer lever causing the worst muscles on this side to work harder to keep it high. So the goal is that we're doing this at about 90 degrees horizontal parallel with the floor. The higher up you go, the more flexibility you have, the more challenges it's going to become. Don't worry if you need to drop the foot down for a wee bit of balance, it's likely to happen. So pick a leg up and then just push it out. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, oh, fell off it, 2, 1. Again, like the last time, slower, harder, takes more effort, more control, more balance. So the leg that was lifting, man, I'm on fire right here. This whole hip here that was having to stand and support has worked hard too. So give yourselves a wee quick rest, then we'll do the other side. Whew, here we go. So standing leg, facing wherever you're holding on to. Stack those hips, lean over a wee bit, and then let's try and lift that up. I started too high. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wow, there we go. Let's do a quick recovery on that. So I'm going to go a wee bit wider and just let those hips sink down into that. Let those hips open. So our little stretches at the beginning, you know, our straddle and our Cossacks and whatever, and mobility. That was all there to open up the joint, lubricate the joint, mobilize the joint, stretch out the tissue. The leg raises were like a basic activation of the main muscles that are going to make your leg move. And then we just essentially made it more and more challenging as we went along. We worked it in 3 different planes of movement, and pretty quick, pretty effective little session. Cool, there we go, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly did, actually. I enjoyed that one today. A bit different from the contract relax stuff and the PNF and all the rest of it we've been doing recently. Let's see how you all got